Hey team, how's everybody doing today? On a glorious Sunday, a couple days into the mass cancellations via Airbnb and home away due to some of the imposed restrictions on travel, mainly from Europe, but a lot of major events being canceled around the states has just had a tremendous impact. So just wanted to bear in again, pile on to the other message I had uh, last week with respect to some of the impacts and what we were seeing across the number of listings that we have, and what it boils down to, and what we've been seeing pretty consistently is a measure of who's canceling based on the type of travel and what they were in town for. So by and large, those that are traveling by air and to a location for events have been canceling at just about a 95% clip. Traveling by air and in town for events. On the other hand, those leisure travelers that were coming from Europe for obvious reasons have canceled just at about 100% clip. In some cases, I've got some out in June or July. They are holding steady at the moment. So we'll see as this thing starts to linger out how that impacts those later reservations that are currently on the calendar. Those that are staying, what we've seen, if they are traveling for leisure and by car, they're staying just at about a 95% clip, even to an extent where we've had some that were traveling by plane initially keep the reservation and decided to drive. So, so I don't know if everybody else is sort of seeing the same patterns, but due to the fact we're operating in so many markets, large and small, and seeing significant trends along those lines, I'd offer to say that it's probably happening just about in every market. Similar trends there. So the second big point to this is the importance of pricing and some of what we've done to help mitigate a lot of the mass cancellations, especially in markets like Columbus, Georgia, Montgomery, Alabama, where we have military schools and graduations that have been the bedrock and cornerstone of our bookings. All went away in a matter of 48 hours. Air Force families were told to go home, and graduations, Columbus, Georgia, Fort Benning, were canceled. So all the bookings came off the table. So immediately, what we did was adjust pricing to our 30-day break-even rate. And for those of you that are not familiar, or you haven't took the time to, or no one's ever said, hey, you should understand your daily operational costs in order to determine your nightly rates, or at least your 30-day break-even rate. This bears importance to that discussion, and why it's so important to understand your pricing and what it costs you to run your unit. And I'll just walk through it for those of you that are not familiar. What you do is you take your monthly expenses. You throw everything in a bucket, everything, to include your Airbnb fees, your service fees, and your cleaning fees. Then you want to deduct those service fees and your cleaning fees to get your, no kidding, monthly operational costs, what it costs you per month to run your unit, which then means those expenses are passed through. Divide that by 30 and you get your daily operating costs. That's important because if you're using a pricing tool, That's the number that goes into that minimum rate. Your 30-day break-even daily operational cost is what you go back to. That has been the default for any day lost due to a cancellation. Immediately get that down to your daily operating costs. So that's a defensive measure, and it's all about protecting, at least to this point, because we're just about midway through March, assuming that most folks have got a couple bookings on their listings. You can go ahead and implement protective measures. And the whole idea is that if you do book out the rest of the month at your min rate, you've at least protected everything you made on the front end and preventing mass bleeding. On the other hand, what you want to do is, on the other hand, what you want to do is losing my train of thought. My son's at the door. The protection pricing is key to understand, and on the other hand, what we're doing is listing out across different websites. So already on the big three, Airbnb, Booking, and HomeAway, and additionally relisting homes on Zillow to target travel nurses and insurance agents. Why? Because with what's currently happening, you will likely see an increase in travel nurses and also insurance agents looking for additional accommodations for clients. So we're getting homes relisted back on Zillow, and then also we've got a couple of travel or insurance agency websites where you can list your property. I think one is called ALS.com, but listed there, and then a couple others. But as you can see, the strategy is to get as wide as we can in terms of visibility outside of the three major platforms that we're already on. Now, the wild card in all of this is, and I would tell you that it can probably work just about anywhere, but you've got to understand your market and what people are looking for in every market. But we've also created local flyers for folks to book the homes and use for events. Now, those are very specific: baby showers, kids' birthday parties, a kid sleepover, a paint, sip, and sleepover, and one or two other things. But they're very specific in terms of the types of events and the number of people, and at a set price. Those went out via Facebook and Instagram promotions today, and we've seen a little bit of activity come back in terms of interest, but those will run for the next 14 days, and then I'll turn them on again depending on what's happening. So just wanted to share a few additional strategies that we're using to help mitigate and offset some of what's going on. But it's a rocky road, bumpy times. We're all kind of going through it together. So continue to show each other support where needed. But again, key to understand pricing. I can't overemphasize it. To get your prices down to your daily operational cost, and that'll at least allow you to salvage days instead of if they book instead of just bleeding the cost. And also just something to consider, if your average daily cost is $70, there's no harm in going down to 60 or 65. And the whole thought is, well, I'd rather lose $50 over the course of 15 days versus $500 over the same period of time. So it's just something you've got to look at, but understanding your numbers key, because that at least gives you a start point. And as I'm talking to you, I'm looking at another reservation here, March 28th through the 31st, canceled there in Somerville, South Carolina. So there we go, still bleeding again, but there you go. A couple strategies to incorporate listing on Zillow, which goes against hot pads, goes out against hot pads, and also Trulia as short-term or long-term rentals to target and a new group in this case. And then also I forgot, so Furnish Fund is also a pretty decent website. Costs a little bit over $100 for the reservation to list there. But obviously that's a travel nurse heavy site. I've done really well in the Florida areas with those. So depending on your location and your experience with it, may be something else that you can tap into. But that's all I got. Thanks for listening in, and hopefully providing you with something to think about. Thanks.